As the era of the driftwood crowns and the Kingsmoots faded into memory, House Greyiron would become the power of the Iron Islands, being known to the pages of history as the Iron Kings. House Greyiron came from the island of Orkmont and had ruled as Salt Kings and Rock Kings on and off for centuries. They were truly one of the most powerful houses in the Iron Islands. While we cannot be sure, according to some sources, the Greyrons blazoned their arms with the Sea King's head, white with dark green seaweed beard and hair, a black crown on a grey field. While the Greyrons were now the undisputed rulers of the Iron Islands, they were in fact amongst the oldest and most renowned of the great houses of the Isles. During the long age of the Kingsmoot, the captains and kings bestowed the driftwood crown on no fewer than 38 Greyrons, giving them twice as many High Kings as any other house in the islands. Thus it makes sense why House Greyiron outgrew the traditions of the Kingsmoot and desired to hold on to power themselves for all of time. Urron Redhand's new crown he had won after the slaughter on Old Wick would not be made of driftwood. Henceforth, the crown of the Iron Islands would be made of black iron and would pass from father to son by right of primogeniture, as was now common among the first men and later the Andals. While there would be some who mourned the loss of this old way, there were just as many who liked the idea of stability, given the turbulent and troubling time the Ironborn were now facing, as the men of the Green Lands learned how to defend from their traditional raiding methods. House Greyiron were not done with this radical change they had made by ending the Kingsmoot. They would not suffer any other kings on the Isles, no matter how petty and small their claim to this title was. There would be no more Salt Kings, and no more Rock Kings. There would from now on be one single king. Urron Redhand and his heirs styled themselves simply King of the Iron Islands. The rulers of Great Wick, Old Wick, Pike, Harlaw, and the Lesser Isles were reduced to lords, and several ancient lines were extinguished entirely when they refused to bend the knee. There are many who point out how this move brought the Ironborn closer in line with the practices of their Westerosi kin to the east, as their own traditional culture and practices started to erode away as the years passed. But as history often shows us, there are always those who seek out power and wish to gain it for themselves. The Game of Thrones, the dangers of politics. Thus, House Greyiron's grasp upon the Iron Crown did not go uncontested. Along with the Kingsmoot, Gallon Whitestaff's prohibition against the Ironborn making war on one another also perished amidst the slaughter of Old Wick. Over the centuries that followed, Urron Redhand and his successors had to deal with half a dozen major rebellions and at least 2 major thrall uprisings. No matter what side of the argument you sit on, it's hard to deny the practices Gallon Whitestaff enforced clearly did have a huge impact in the stability of the Iron Islands. Without them, the Ironborn were no longer one people, aligned with one goal, with one common foe. There were now several individual houses, each looking to gain power. Thus, Ironborn would now do battle with Ironborn. The now lords of the Iron Islands and the lords and kings of the mainland were slow to take advantage of this disunity among the Ironborn. One by one, all the remaining footholds in the Green Lands were lost. The most telling blow was struck by King Garth VII, the Golden Hand, King of the Reach, who drove off the Ironmen from the Misty Islands and renamed them the Shield Islands, and resettled them with his own population, made up of his fiercest warriors and finest sailors, to defend the mouth of the Mander and protect the Reach as a whole. Raiding this land would now be a trying task. Things would only get worse with the coming of the Andals on mainland Westeros. The arrival of the Andals in the Seven Kingdoms only hastened the decline of the Iron Islands more, for unlike the first men who were gone before, the Andals were fearless sailors, with longships of their own design, as swift and as seaworthy as any the Ironborn could build. As the Andals flooded into the Riverlands, the Westerlands and the Reach, new villages began to spring up along the coasts. Walled towns and stout stone and timber castles rose over every cove and every harbour, and great lords and petty kings alike began to build warships to defend their shores and protect their shipping trade. In due time, the Andals swept over the Iron Islands, just as they had done with the rest of Westeros below the neck. Successive waves of Andal adventurers descended upon the islands, often in allegiance with one faction or another of the Ironborn themselves. Like on the mainland, the Andals intermarried with some of the ancient families of the islands, and brought others to bloody ends with a sword and axe. House Greyiron was among those destroyed. The last Iron King, Ragnar II, was brought down when the Orkments, Drums, Hoares and Greyjoys made a rare common cause against him, supported by a host of Andal pirates, sellswords and warlords. Afterwards, the victors could not agree on who should succeed Ragnar as king of the Iron Islands, so it was decided they would settle a matter by dancing the finger dance, a popular game amongst the Ironborn, wherein players spin a throwing axes at one another and attempt to snatch it from the air. House Hoare emerged as the victor at the cost of 2 of his fingers. As Harris Stumphand, he ruled the Iron Islands for 30 years, and with that the Iron Islands saw an end of the Iron Kings of House Greyiron, but the rise of House Hoare and the Black Blood, who would restore some of the might of the Ironborn, bringing their power and influence across the Seven Kingdoms back to its apex. After all, there is one particular king of House Hoare who would play such a vital role in the Targaryen conquest of the Seven Kingdoms. Many believe the tale of Harras winning his crown by catching an axe to be no more than a singer's tale. In truth, Archmaester Harag suggests that Harras was chosen because he had taken an Andal maiden for his wife, thereby winning the support of her father and many other Andal lords in the mainland, which facilitated the growth of the Ironborn across the Riverlands.